Dr. Jade Ranger. This is my handsome husband, Dr. Henry Ranger, and we are the owners of the Prescription Shop located in Williamsburg, Virginia. It is a locally owned, family-owned business that we started, and our grand opening was March 6th of 2019, so we're about a year and a half in at this point. Thankfully, all has gone well. We have been embraced by the community, and it has been just an awesome journey thus far. So we're so happy to be here and talking with you all about this specific series called Chill Leaders. So I guess we're going to kind of take it back and start from the very beginning, at least at least for the two of us. And that would start at...
I always say we first met at the Walmart in Hampton, but she swears I'm talking about a different female, by the way.
I don't recall.
I swear it was totally her. I can never forget that day in which we met. It was your blue coat ceremony. No, your white coat ceremony day. Okay. And you were strutting like you always did. Your hair was freshly pressed.
Oh my gosh.
Heels on. the basic Hamptonian way.
Oh my goodness.
And ever since that day, we became friends, hung out, in big, groups.
In groups. I'm actually from Bowie, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County. Henry's from the beautiful Beaufort, South Carolina. And we, like he said, met because we were both in pharmacy school at Hampton University. He was a year ahead of me, so he graduated in 2011. I graduated in 2012. And, we actually came to the Williamsburg area because his first job was the Farm Fresh in Norge. Yep, so he was a pharmacy manager there. That's kind of how we relocated to Williamsburg. And at the time, we did not realize that we were going to be building a life here together.
Yeah, because we were talking at first of trying to figure out whether we were going to go somewhere halfway in between South Carolina and Maryland. So we were like, yeah, that Raleigh, Durham area is, kind of nice area. So we were targeting that area at first, but then, like she said, my first job out of school was at the Farm Fresh in Williamsburg. So that's when we decided to kind of stay here. And
honestly, it's one of those things where I will say that this whole thing, the whole operation has been completely God-led. From the very beginning, seeing just our journey from when we first moved to Williamsburg and all of the connections that we've made and all of the relationships that we've made and all of the stepping stones and learning blocks along the way, you don't know at the time, but then when you're on this side of it, you realize there was a reason. Everything came together for a reason. And so, like he said, and like we already mentioned, that we were here because he was the Farm Fresh manager, pharmacy manager in Norge. He was there for a couple of years, and then he wound up opening
Walmart on Casey Boulevard. Yep, the grocery one.
And that is a funny, interesting story in itself.
Yes,
that actually, they had their grand opening 2 days after our older son Jacob was born, and so he was there exhausted. But in a nutshell, the grand opening went really well. His career with Walmart began to kind of take off and soar, and he kept getting accolades. And from there, he was essentially climbing the corporate ladder with Walmart. And I think everyone in the company and who knew him professionally definitely thought he was going to just kind of keep climbing that ladder.
And I thought I was too.
I think we both kind of thought that. I think we both thought that.
They tried to get me out to Bentonville, Arkansas a couple times, but if you know Bentonville, Arkansas, the only thing out there is Walmart. So, and I was immediately shutting that down. Like, look, you can go as far as you want to go with this, but I'm not moving to Arkansas. That's the bottom line. So we had that agreement in play, and I will say that as he continued to, like I said, do well with Walmart and his career kept taking off, I think there was still just something in the back of his mind where he was not content. He's always been a very ambitious individual. He's always had a ton of drive, and that's something, honestly, that I've always admired about him and loved about him. It scares you too.
It definitely has caused me to have some
heart palpitations.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's something that so many people don't have, or even if they do have it, they don't have the fearlessness to pursue their dreams. And so I would say maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, he kind of started talking about opening our own pharmacy and how we should do that. And at the time, I was working part-time with Walmart. I pretty much never went back to working 40 hours after we had our older son, Jacob. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why would we do that? We're both having a lucrative career. Things are going well. We're financially set. I don't see a reason to, shake anything up. Yeah. It's going well. Let's just be thankful for the blessings that we currently have. But
like you said, I just felt I just wasn't fulfilled. I had hit a point where I felt like I was it was getting stale, and me being me, I just wanted to shake things up and take the big risk.
So he kept talking about this over a course of a couple years, and I kept being like, maybe we'll pursue that down the line. We've got a young family. We're still trying to get ourselves financially set and comfortable, and it was something that just kept coming up. And it got to the point where I was almost annoyed by it, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, how many times are we going to keep talking about this? Like, it's not the right time. And
she wasn't trying to do it.
I was not on board. I was not on board at all. He's right. I was not on board at all. But look how God works, because it's a situation where he kept talking about it, and finally in my mind, I'm like, okay, I don't want this to be a situation where 20 years down the line, my husband is resenting me because he feels like he never got a fair shake and never got a fair shot.
I can't say I would have resented you.
It
would have definitely been a what if, man.
Yeah.
What if we had opened the pharmacy 20 years ago? What would have happened?
So, and because I love him the way that I do, I said, you know what, if this is something that you really want to pursue, then you have to show me that you're serious. So put together a business plan and we'll see what happens. And honestly, in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking, well, this will take care of itself, because more than likely he's not going to complete the business plan when he realizes how much work it's going to be, or
faith in you is so solid.
Or we wouldn't get approved for the small business loan, or any number of obstacles that I just first was thinking, okay, this is eventually going to probably come to a halt. And then at least in his mind, he realizes that I tried to give it a go, and hey, it didn't work out. As it turns out, though, the joke was on me, because he was dead serious, and he was diligent. He put together that business plan, and
from scratch.
He did, from scratch. And
throw that in there.
And really, the rest was history, because basically he put together that business plan. And the thing that I really appreciated was that I knew that we were on the same page, when in my mind I was thinking, if he's serious about moving forward with this, then I would definitely want to talk to our pastor, who is Dr. Robert A. Whitehead, Sr. We attend New Zion Baptist Church, and we've been active members there since 2011. And we've served on various ministries and things like that. But Pastor Whitehead is someone we have tremendous respect for. He has been there with us throughout our entire journey. He's done our premarital classes. He married us. Yeah. We got married here in town at Kings Mill in 2012, and he
did our house dedication.
When it was built.
Boys' christenings.
And he actually came here and blessed this space the weekend before we opened, our grand opening. But in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if we're going to move forward with this, I would want to talk to Pastor Whitehead about it. And where I knew that spiritually we were in the same place was before I had opportunity to bring that to Henry's attention. He asked me if I was going to be free at a certain time on this Friday, because he wanted me to join him on a conference call. And I was like, well, who are we having the conference call with? And he was like, Pastor Whitehead. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, I just thought that if we were going to move forward with this, then we should probably seek out his counsel. And I was like, wow. So that was kind of the first moment where I was like, okay, we're on the same page. So
he might be serious.
He might be serious, and he's taking the time to reach out to Pastor Whitehead. So I'm like, we'll see where this goes. And we talked to Pastor Whitehead, and we asked him to keep it confidential, and he prayed with us, and he encouraged us. And so from there, we kind of started moving along. And to be honest, all of this happened between a time period of August of 2018. August 2018 is when he started putting together the business plan. We then started meeting with our realtor looking for spots. And so the first location that we were initially looking at,
we thought it was going to be great. It had the windows where it would just, the curbside appeal was
awesome.
Wonderful.
We loved it. We were like, oh, this is our spot. We should be here. When we started putting in offers, though, we realized we would have to make some changes to what they already had. So we would have to do a little bit of a build-out process. The owners of that building did not want to do another build-out process, because evidently they had recently done one for someone else only a few months back, and that wound up being a short-lived thing. And so, we were initially really, really disappointed, like, oh man, things, aren't getting off to a good start. And we were starting to kind of build up excitement and steam about the fact that we were really going to move forward and do this. And this is how God works, because I think back all the time to how I was so dead set on that original location. And now I realize if we had been in that location, we probably would not be doing as well as we are right now, honestly, because location is everything. And of course, when you're a novice business owner, you don't realize that. So when our realtor initially showed us this spot, I was kind of like, no, I'm in that parking lot all the time. It's super congested because of Starbucks. And you
pumpkin spice lattes.
Exactly. So it's like, it's hard to get in and out of here. And so I wasn't really a fan of it. And it was something that kept coming back around. He's like, listen, to be honest, it's free advertisement. I know businesses that are opening and they strategically try to plant themselves in the same shopping center with a Starbucks
or
Chick-fil-A because they know it's going to be booming. They know it's a situation where they're going to get free publicity. And so, we eventually decided, okay, that kind of makes sense. So we'll go with it and see what happens. So we I guess took over the lease in, was it
October? I think we got keys.
October of 2018.
The very end of October
is when we got the keys. So we're talking, from August 2018 to October of 2018 was kind of this process of getting the business plan going.
But it was moving pretty fast.
Getting approved for our small business loan and securing a spot. So all of that was like a blur because it was really quick. Thankfully, we got approved for the small business loan on our first try. So we felt very blessed and highly favored to even have that experience, because that was something that we were a little nervous about. We had talked to some other local business owners about how they had
other pharmacists, other pharmacy owners too,
who had gotten
were saying
denied a couple of times before they were able to finally push their business plan through and actually get approved. So that was major. So that was a very celebratory time. We were like, okay.
Thank God for good credit.
High five. So that was a blessing. And so once we took over the location, we were in a place where this used to actually be an eye doctor's office. So all of what you can see maybe in this frame, I'm not sure if you can or not, is an open space now. But when we first took over, there were several offices, kind of rooms here. So we
had to knock down a lot of walls.
A lot of walls. This was, when I say this is like a labor of love and like our third child, it really is, because everything you see is from scratch. Henry and I did this together. It took so much teamwork and effort. And it's always a blessing when you have certain people have strengths and weaknesses. And that's how we have always been, where things that are his strengths and weaknesses are opposite of mine. And so that works because we're able to come together, and it always kind of seals the deal and makes things work out pretty smoothly, whether that's in our relationship, whether it's with our family at home, or now even as business partners, which of course initially everyone's joking like, are you guys going to be able to work together?
They asked us that a lot.
Like, are you guys going to be able to work together? Or are you sure that's not going to ruin your marriage? And it hasn't. I mean, we might have our, back and forth exchange about, okay, I think we should do this or that, whatever the case may be. But I feel like we're always very open-minded.
She usually wins, by the way. Usually.
I feel like we were both very open-minded, and we both have enough respect and love for one another that we value the other person's opinion. And so that's just a little tidbit or a bit of advice I would definitely say. When it comes to who you surround yourself with as your team, make sure they're trustworthy people, make sure they're dependable, make sure that you have a mutual respect for them, and vice versa, and make sure you have an opportunity to have open communication, because when you're going into this type of endeavor, you have to be able to talk about everything. And so there's so many decisions to be made. You have to be on the same page, and if you're not, then you need to find yourself on the same page, which is why having open communication is so very important. So that's just the first little tip I'll throw out there. But outside of that, I would say when it comes to, again, everything that you see here, this has been something that we have worked long and hard, whether it's after we've put our children to bed and we're up till 2 a.m. working at our kitchen counter. Even when it comes to our logo, that was something that we drew up on a computer sheet of paper, and then we wind up submitting, and the company who wind up actually designing the digital format of it and doing the copyright and everything really brought it to life. But it's just so cool to see how you make these plans and you put things into play and then see them actually come to fruition. And I think we've kind of seen that time and time again through this journey.
I mean, I tell people every day, it's still hard to believe, really.
It really is.
I mean, sometimes I'm like, wow, man, we really opened the pharmacy up,
And we're really doing this. And I feel like at least once every time that I'm working, I just have that moment where I look around, and it does give you such a sense of pride to realize that this is something that we built from the ground up. But at the same time, it's just so humbling.
And people are coming.
And people are coming, and they're patronizing our business.
Every time the door opens and you hear the phone rings, it's like, wow.
It really is. And so it's one of these things, again, where you're just kind of going through the motions and things are happening quickly. But if you're diligent, if you've got the tenacity, the determination, stick with it, because so many people have dreams. Not everyone has the drive to actually pursue them, and there's a difference.
That's a big step.
That's a big step. It's a big step. You know, for me, it was very scary, because I'm like, we're leaving our financial security of having a constant paycheck to come and step out on our own. So we had to take to
not knowing if the money's coming.
Exactly. And so we had to take a major leap of faith here.
Yeah.
And, you know, so often people come in and they're like, oh, is this a franchise? Because they see Henry and I, and not only are we young in our you know, mid to early 30s, or early to mid 30s, but then we're also African American. And so that was a question that we got a lot initially, like, is this a franchise? Is this a franchise? And
because you couldn't have possibly done this on your own.
Yeah, you know, and it's a shame that might have been some folks, you know, thought processes, but that's just reality. That's the world that we live in. And so you also have to know what challenges and obstacles you may be coming up against. And for us, Williamsburg, Virginia, it's a predominantly white area. It's not that diverse. You know, you do see people of color that are around.
Yeah.
But even when it comes to our patient population, I would say about 90%, a solid 90% of our patients do not look like us, and that's okay, because people realize when you have a genuine personality and you really care, then it really doesn't matter. You know, that's something we say all the time, and I know it sounds cliche, but you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think once we've exhibited that to the community and how much we care about being a part of this community, and the way that we totally embraced it, they have totally embraced us as well, and our family and everything.
My daughter was born with a disability 21 years ago. When we started looking for a new pharmacy, a friend of ours who also had a child with a disability recommended Mr. and Miss Ranger, and we have been so pleased. They know me and they know my daughter by name. They know when to fill our pill packs and how to fill them, and Maggie just loves them. Every order we've had has been correct, and when we've had a mix-up with our doctors, they've worked so hard to make things right, because they really care about us. And that's why I like it here.
And just to put out there, so this is not a franchise. However, there are the prescription shops, other places in the country. But if you look close, we all have our own logo. And so it's kind of like there's a few different medicine shops out there. And so unfortunately we have the same name, but we're the only prescription shop in the state of Virginia. So this is really a ground up operation, the two of us. And so we had to come up with logo, slogan, motto,
mission
statement. We designed essentially our whole layout that you see, because like I said, we had to knock down several walls and things like that. So that was again on a computer sheet that we're sketching out to our contractor how we want our place to look, and then we had to come up with a color palette and decide what was the type of vibe or ambiance that we wanted people to feel when they come in the door. And so Henry actually decided he wanted to go with like a Tiffany blue color, so that's kind of how we got that, and we added in the shades of gray and brown along with it. And so it has a very soothing spa-like feeling when you walk in the door, and we didn't want to be like Walmart or CVS or Rite Aid. We wanted it to be clear this is a family-owned establishment, that you feel cozy when you come in the door. So our waiting area has a couch, and it has a seating area, and there's like a place where you can sample our wellness tea. And there's even a thing on the wall that says Wellness Corner, one step closer to better health, which is
please point that out. Please.
Which is kind of an inside joke, because that was us trying to be clever. I love tea. I'm a major tea drinker. I thought it was just going to be crystal clear that was a play on words. Clearly it's not, because
people think all the time that we don't know how to spell step.
Yeah, and they say, oh, you know, you've got an extra E and step, and we're like, no.
We know.
It's actually supposed to be steep, and they're like, oh, okay. And I thought there were context clues there because we've got tea-like decorations,
right beside it,
everywhere in that little corner. But that's just it's a funny thing because that was one of those things where we're like, should we just change it? Because people ask us this all the time, but. Oddly enough, one of our customers who's in advertising made this statement. She was like, no, leave it, because when someone asks about it, that gives you the opportunity to then talk about your specialty tea. And so that's kind of a segue to talking about one of your products and potentially maybe selling, some tea to someone. So, but that's just kind of like a little funny anecdote or joke about that. But again, everything we've had to do ourselves. So when it comes to the designing, picking out the flooring, picking out, like I said, the paint colors, the decorations, which, we were on a budget, so we were getting things from TJ Maxx and Kirkland's and Wayfair,
it worked out.
And and it's so funny because we get complimented all the time. People come in here and they're like, "Oh wow, I love this. It reminds me of back home, or it reminds me of when I was growing up and I used to go and see the druggist." And so
they said the only thing we need is a soda fountain.
A soda pop fountain, yeah.
That's the only thing they say.
And so Henry jokes about getting that eventually, but we'll see. We'll see, but we strive to really have a precedent when our folks walk in the door that they immediately feel at ease. So we've always got our diffuser going. We usually have like a little mix of lemongrass and eucalyptus going in there because we realize that as small business owners, we have to have something that sets our business apart, because the reality is there's usually a pharmacy or even two on every corner, and patients and people have options, so they really can go anywhere, and we have to convince them why would they rather come here to spend time with us versus going somewhere else. And I think that is something that we really worked on our first year in business, is setting ourselves apart and showing true patient care. And that's been something that has been, I think, so essential, and it has really, I would say, catapulted us to just the position that we have in the community now. For us to have only been in business for about a year and a half, I feel like we've got a really good reputation, and that's not even me just trying to toot our horn. We have patients that tell us that all the time. They're constantly commenting on that. Oh, I heard from my bridge partner or my neighbor or my church member or my physician. Yeah, that's something else.
Yeah, I had one call today actually.
Yeah, and that's actually have been really cool to see how we have been completely embraced by the healthcare, I would say, community in Williamsburg as well. We have all the time where doctors come up.
We would see the names. Yeah. We would see the names for years, but didn't
know who they were personally.
They'll come in themselves and mention how their patients have reported back to them saying how phenomenal this new pharmacy is in town. And
they'll come and pick up stacks of business cards, and you would think they were getting a kickback, and they're not. And so that's why, again, how you treat people matters so much, because if you give a person a sense of you care about them and it's past just dispensing their medications, that goes a long way. And so that's pretty much what we have tried to achieve with the prescription shop, that this is, in fact, it's a whole experience when you come here. So like I said, you come in the door, there's soothing colors, you hear soft music, you have the whole aromatherapy going. So immediately we're trying to put you at ease, because we often realize that our patients are dealing with serious things. We've got
nobody wants to come to the pharmacy.
No one wants to come to the pharmacy. And so, we've got patients who have terminally ill diseases. We've had to help patients through their spouse passing from a situation or a disease state or whatever the case may be. And so, or people just have chronic illnesses that cause them to be uncomfortable on a daily basis. And the reality is, you don't know what anyone is struggling with when they walk in the door. They could be coming because they've got multiple sclerosis. They could be coming because they've got high blood pressure. They could be coming because they have cancer, or they could be coming to just pick up some over-the-counter Tylenol. And so because you don't know why they're walking in the door, you always want to be mindful of how you're treating them, how you're greeting them. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing for us, is our customer service that has set us apart. We go above and beyond for all of our customers. Someone has a birthday, they get acknowledged for that. Someone is having a rough time, I take the time to send them an encouragement note. Someone has a birth in the family.
Late night doing it.
Someone has a birth in the family, and we're sending them a congratulations and a little gift card to Target. And so those are not major things. They're really small things in the grand scheme of things and everything that's going on in the world, but they make such a difference. And it has such an impact on people when they realize that you've taken, even if it's extra 2-5 minutes, whatever the case, they appreciate that. And so I would say that, honestly, above all else, has been what has really, I guess, established our business in this Williamsburg community.
It shows the genuineness, honestly, because coming from the big chains, you're not getting that from those other places, obviously, because they're so busy, and because corporate is in such control, hours are being cut, and they're expected to perform these same duties with less people. So where the desire may be there to do it, they just
I don't know if the desire is there anymore. To be honest, unfortunately, we've seen even in the short 8 years since I've graduated, the profession of pharmacy has taken a turn if you're working in community pharmacy, which is often now referred to as retail pharmacy. And it's unfortunate because we're not retail pharmacists. We are community pharmacists. We are working in our community with your local UPS man, or the lady who works at the donut shop down the street, or the grocery store worker. So we are a part of that community, and that is who we serve. And so this idea that we're just retailers, that's not the case. We go through, in some cases, for some people, 6, 7, 8 years of schooling. You obtain your doctorate degree, and it's so that you can assist your patients with all of their pharmaceutical needs. And so that's what we're trying to kind of bring back, versus this idea that you go through a drive-through and it's like fast food, because it's not, and you shouldn't want it to be, because we're dealing with your medications, and you would rather not get a digoxin that could affect your heart if you were supposed to get Docusate as a stool softener because you were a little backed up. So this is one of these things where it's serious work. And it's
I think people forget about that.
They forget about that so often, because we live in this world where everyone's looking for instant gratification, and they're always expecting everything to be instant. And so even when it comes to their medications now, and just healthcare in general, they want to be in and out and all that. But it's like, that's kind of, you're now moving into losing the true profession, and the meaning of pharmacy and what it was to be a druggist. And it's so much more than just counting pills. We're a support system for people. We're the most accessible healthcare worker.
You don't have to, schedule an appointment, pay a copay to go, see your pharmacist. And you can just come in,
absolutely,
ask them anything. Honestly, I've had people come in and say, "Henry, what's this rash?" And I'm like, I don't know what that rash is, but that's just how it is. We've been viewed as the most trusted profession, for years. I think we kind of go back and forth
between nursing,
with nurses, but and there's a reason for that, because like I said, you can just, if you're down or you just need somebody to talk to, the pharmacist is there.
Yep, and whether it's a recommendation for a sick child, for an elderly parent, or for yourself, oftentimes people will use their community pharmacist as a resource, come in and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. What do you think? Is there something over the counter that can treat this? Or do I need to go to urgent care? Or do I need to go to my primary care? Or do I actually need to go to the ER? Or whatever the case may be. And so oftentimes we are the people on the front lines that are helping patients make those assessments, in addition to helping them manage their medication and making sure they're taking it properly, that they understand why they're taking it. So there's so much that goes into it, and we're so excited to be a part of this series with you all. And so we look forward to chatting with you all through this series. And again, we're just glad to be here. We're thankful. We obviously are only a year and a half in, so we still have a lot to learn ourselves. We're definitely not the authority on being a small business owner. But I do think that along this journey, this year and a half journey, we have definitely gained some knowledge, I would say, and some through trial and error, but we're working it out. And so we look forward to, like I said, continuing this series with you, and hopefully answering any questions, or just kind of giving you more feedback. See you next time.